Today I'm going to be talking about data visualization, and I'm going to be using three examples. Data visualization is important in order to be able to present your data to other people, and so where you may be able to run your numbers or do an analysis and see what you're looking at, you may be in the situation where you have to present that to your executives or your bosses or teams or anybody else in an organization. And data visualization, being able to build these kinds of charts and other ways to visualize makes the data easier to read and understand and presentable for presentations and maybe people that are not, it just makes it easier to absorb. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. My first example is a bar graph, and I'm going to use the bar plot function. The first thing that I need to do is I need to library two packages. So all the packages I already have installed on my computer. So I'm going to library ggplot2 so that I can make the plot and use the functions from that, and read Excel so that I can read the data off my computer. So I'm just going to run these. They're actually already libraried. So I'm just running them. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to call the data from my computer into this object ethnicity data, and then the next thing that I'm going to do is view the ethnicity data. And I'm going to run that. Oh. So I'm going to, I actually paused the video, and I'm going to run this code again. So here we go with the code. I had to pause the data because I moved the file, so I moved it back for the purposes of this video before I have to turn it in. So I'm just going to talk about what this data is. So this is some actual data that I have from a certain type of nursing staff, and I have the ethnicity of that staff and the hours that they work per week. So for ethnicity, I have number 1 as white, number 2 as Latino, I believe 3 is, let me look, is Asian, 4 is black, and 5 is native. So that's what my ethnicity data is, and then I have the hours worked. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create the table with the table function. I'm going to put the parameters of the data into this this object counts, and this is going to create a table from ethnicity data and from the variable ethnicity. That's what that means. And then this next step, I'm just going to print the table. So I'm going to run this. And as you see down here, it has just printed my table. It made a table out of the ethnicity data. So in the top row is the number that is actually a string variable, that represents the ethnicity, and below that is the count. So it's really just a frequency table, but I wouldn't want to present this to anybody, so I'm going to make a pretty bar plot out of that. And this is a pretty basic bar plot. I'm going to use the bar plot function, and contained in the bar plot function are all the arguments that I'm going to use. Firstly, I'm going to use the object counts that I just made up here with the ethnicity data. For the main title, I'm titling this the ethnicity of nurses on staff. Next, I'm going to label my x-axis with ethnicity and my y-axis with the number of nurses. And then following, I'm going to use the names argument in order to change the labels of the columns from numbers, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to their appropriate label. So it's going to go to, I'm using white, Hispanic, Asian, Black, and Native. Lastly, I'm changing the colors of the columns. So, and here you see I'm using light salmon, pale green 1, steel blue 1, plum 2, and aquamarine 1. So I'm just going to go ahead and run all of this. This is my bar plot. And I get this output over here. So in my hypothetical situation of why I'm looking at nurses on staff, I may be interested in doing another round of hiring, but I want to also make sure that I have a diverse workspace. So I may want to use this information to target different ethnicities so that I have a more diverse workplace. So that's one of the uses that I could use for this, and I may want to present this data to my board of directors or to my HR staff and let them know why I think that we should be targeting different groups of people, different ethnicities. So next I'm going to make a line graph with ggplot. I already have all of these libraries, but if I didn't, I would go ahead and run all of these again, and it would library my packages. ggplot again is for plotting the graphs. dplyr is for data manipulation, and I use that has the pipe operator. And hrbr themes just has themes for ggplot, so I don't have to put in every line of code every time I use it. I can just indicate what theme I want to use. So for this plot, I'm going to load a data set from GitHub. It's a free usable data set, and it contains dates and values. So I'm going to load it to the object data, and I'm just going to read this table, and I'm indicating to R where I want it to come from. Next, I also want to tell it that the date variable of the data is a date. And to do this, I use this as.date operator. And I'm indicating that this variable, to read it as a date. And then lastly, I'm just going to print the data. So I'll run all of these. And it gives me this huge list of 500 variables or more. Actually, you see that 1,322 rows were omitted. This is a very big data set. So I don't need, you could use this for a lot of things, but in my imaginary scenario, I'm going to say that I launched a feedback system, and the feedback system is going to be new, and so I'm really just piloting it, and so I'm asking for voluntary participation. Let's say that I've sent out an email to everybody in the organization to participate in this, and they can just like log in and sign on and follow the instructions. So for my analysis, I want to look to see how that participation has increased or decreased over the last 10 days. I misspelled this word, so I'm going to fix it real fast. Over the last 10 days. So for my plot, I'm going to take the following step. So first, I'm going to call the data that I uploaded from here. Now, like I said, this is a lot of data, and 1,800 cases is not going to plot well. So for this, I'm going to just say that I want the tail end and I want the value to be 10. So this is going to give me plot the last 10 lines. So just for my imaginary scenario, I'm using 10 observations, assuming that it was just for 10 days. Next, I'm going to call my ggplot function, and I'm going to set the aesthetics for my plot. For the x-axis, I'm going to use the date, and for the y-axis, I'm going to use the value. I use a plus sign after every argument so that I can tell R that there's more to come, that I have many lines of argument here. Next, I'm going to set the line of my chart to the color light blue 4. Following, I'm going to indicate to R that I want the point, so like the bubble of my line graph, to be in shape 21, which is a big circle. And I want the outline to be black. Oops, I don't know what I just did. The outline to be black, and I want the fill to be this color and the size to be 6. And so that's the size of the shape, which is round. Next, I'm going to use the theme ipsum, which is just a basic theme from Arial Narrow, and this just saves me a lot of time in indicating what I want the whole thing to look like. And lastly, I'm going to indicate to R that I want the title to be called Participation and Pilot Feedback System, and that's the chart title using this argument. So here I go. I'm just going to highlight all of this and run it, and I get this little table over here. So as you can see, so this is what I would present to whoever, whether it be HR or the executives. And so this is my launch date. And so at this date, I also sent out an email. And following, you see how my table starts at 8,250. So I sent out an email. And so what this indicates to me is that a lot of people signed up. And so let's just imagine that we have 9,000 or 10,000 people or something in the organization. And so slowly more people started to sign up, but then it dropped off again. Here we may have either sent out an email and again reminding people that this was going on, and it really jumped up here. On the 21st and the 22nd, almost everybody was participating in this, and then it started dropping off. So this might be a good time to here 10 days later to start getting some feedback on the feedback system. That sounds a little redundant, but it could be helpful to find out what's going on, what people thought about it, and find out why those people dropped. So that's one of the ways that I could use a line graph. Next, I'm going to make a donut chart, and for this example, I'm going to use the package ggpubr. And so I'm actually going to library all of these packages. They actually already are, but I'm just going to do it again. And so, oh, I actually didn't need this one. But this one is for data manipulation, and this one enables me to customize a ggplot, and that just simplifies the process of setting up this chart. So for this example, I created data, and I just created a data frame with a couple of vectors. So I assigned that to the object df using the data frame function with the vector status of not started, in progress, and completed, and the vector value of 10, 15, and 75. And I'm just going to, so for example, I could run this, and then I could use the head function in order to look at it. So down here you see that I just have a very small data frame with the status and value as my two variables, of not started, which was the value of 10, in progress, which is the value of 15, and completed, which is the value of 75. In my hypothetical situation, these values represent percentages. In my hypothetical situation is that it is the status of a climate survey. So, for example, my organization may have sent out a climate survey, and we are waiting to analyze that data. But in a meeting, I need to report on the status of the completion rates of that survey. So to do that, I'm going to create this donut chart. I'm going to use the function GG donut chart, and I'm going to use my data frame DF. I'm going to indicate to R that I want it to fill the values, fill the pieces of donut with the values variable, and I want it to label it status. The fill, here I'm going to fill the donut and create the color that separates each piece as white. Lastly, the palette that I'm using, I'm just indicating that I want to use these 3 colors. Here, I could have used any colors. It's a way to customize that. And so I'm just going to take this whole thing and I'm going to run that. And so here I just get a simple donut chart. So what I would present, what this tells me is that a majority of people have finished taking the survey. There are still quite a few surveys out in progress, but a good portion, I mean, this is still a pretty good piece of my donut has not started. So I may want to send out a reminder email and let people know that they need to complete that. So that's all I have for you. Thank you.